Isn't it true that your mind is a raging maelstrom of never-ending chatter? A never-ending maelstrom of ideas, viewpoints, and evaluations throughout the day? It is similar to being trapped in a noisy room from which you have no way of escaping, a place where the echoes of the past mix with the concerns of the future. What if, however, I told you that you do not have to allow this storm to govern you? Would you believe me if I told you that there is a way to find something truly meaningful by stepping outside of the cacophony and finding a stillness that is so still that it feels like you are touching the very core of life itself? Give it some thought. Is it possible that you have missed out on a number of times in your life just because your mind was preoccupied with something else? A chat with a loved one in which your attention was focused on a task that was not yet completed, or a breathtaking sunset that was lost in the never-ending repetition of mistakes made in the past? Or perhaps the most excruciating of all, the peaceful moments of silence that you were unable to take pleasure in, mostly due to the fact that you were preoccupied with contemplating a future that does not even exist yet. However, before we proceed any further, I would like you to ask yourself the following question. When was the last time you fully felt the present moment without thinking about it, without dissecting it, and just living it? Just the unadulterated, unfiltered sense of being alive without any thoughts of judgment or comparison. It has been far too long, which is a terrible answer for many people today. We are locked up in a never-ending conversation that is depriving us of the most wonderful gift that life has to offer, which is the present moment. We have become prisoners of our own ideas. Within the following 5 minutes, I will demonstrate something that is really powerful to you. As a group, we will investigate how to reduce the loudness of your internal debate, how to calm the noise, and how to reestablish a connection with the simplicity of the here and now. There is no requirement for years of practice. You don't need any extraordinary abilities. You only need to be willing to give it a shot with this, mostly due to the fact that once you have experienced genuine silence, you will never want to return to the cacophony. Would you say that you are prepared to let go of the storm? The profound calm that has always been there, simply waiting for you to experience it. Is it something that you are prepared to encounter? After taking a few big breaths, let's get started, shall we? Just picture this. The forest that you are currently standing in is very breathtaking. There is a nearby creek that is whispering as it flows. The birds are singing, and the trees are gently swaying in the wind. However, you are not receiving any of it. How come? Mostly due to the fact that your thoughts are elsewhere, engaged in a mental conversation about the errors of the past or the uncertainty of the future. You are surrounded by beauty, yet you are unable to perceive it because of the inner chatter in your head. This is something that a great number of us go through on a daily basis, with life happening all around us. But we are so preoccupied with the never-ending conversation that we fail to notice. What caused this to take place? Why does the mind feel the need to communicate with us incessantly, like a radio that keeps playing even when it is switched off? The reason for this is that your mind has become accustomed to thinking that it is living. It believes that it is protecting you by evaluating, judging, and planning all of these things by itself. However, in actuality, it is preventing you from moving forward, unable to break free from the cycle of worry, remorse, and distraction. Being a person who has a noisy mind comes with this price tag. Even when you are present, you are not genuinely present. However, you are not genuinely living, even though you are alive. And if we are being completely honest, the cacophony is very draining, isn't it? You are aware of it. It is the mental exhaustion that results from repeatedly rehashing the same arguments, anxieties, and uncertainties over and over again. Energy is depleted as a result. This causes you to lose attention, and the worst part is that it disrupts your tranquility. To tell you the truth, however, no one will ever tell you that silence is the best medicine. You are able to finally hear the world around you when you are in a state of true quiet, which is not the absence of sound, but rather the presence of mental calm. It is the means by which you are able to hear yourself. Just consider how much of life we pass up because we are preoccupied with other things. The number of sunsets that we miss out on because our eyes are riveted to screens is staggering. Because we are preoccupied with our thoughts, how many smiles do we fail to notice? In addition, how many times do we miss out on moments of happiness because we are preoccupied with remembering the past or fretting about the future? It is important to be silent because silence is the gateway to presence. And the only place where life actually takes place is in someone's presence. As you can see, the mind has a strong need to be in the present moment. It is a great pleasure to relive the past and to speculate about the future. The present now, on the other hand, is where life is. The only reality that exists is the one that exists right now in this particular moment. Nothing else, including the past and the future, exists outside of the realm of thinking. A universe of what-ifs and if-onlys is created in your head by the cacophony that you are experiencing, which pulls you away from the simplicity of what is. Silence, however, is what draws you back to reality. It is like if one were to leave a packed room and make their way out into the fresh air, where everything appears to be more distinct, lighter, and more vibrant. In addition to bringing about serenity, silence also brings about clarity. You are finally able to hear the truth when there is silence. You are able to hear your intuition, which is a gentle voice that is often overshadowed by the confusion that results from excessive thinking. You have the ability to sense the link that exists between yourself and the environment that surrounds you, a connection that has always been present but has been obscured by distracting mental noise. When you are alone, you come to the realization that you are not distinct from life. You are life itself. A busy mind is responsible for creating illusions, and those borders that you believe exist between you and the rest of the world are nothing more than that. Furthermore, the most wonderful part about silence is that it does not require perfection. You are not required to have a mind that is absolutely devoid of any thoughts. As an alternative, it requests awareness. It encourages you to pay attention to the discussion without becoming engrossed in all of it. To take a step back and examine your ideas as if they were leaves floating down a river, allowing them to come and go without attaching to them during this process. Quiet is important not because it eliminates thought, but rather because it liberates you from being controlled by thought. This is why quiet is important. Therefore, why is it important to remain silent? Mainly due to the fact that it restores your life. This enables you to be present in the here and now, in the one and only moment that is genuinely available to you. This is not simply about calming the mind. Rather, it is about becoming aware of the abundance that is available in the moment. When you hear the singing of a bird, feel the warmth of the sun, or become aware of the rhythm of your own breath, you come to the realization that this moment, this very instant, is sufficient. Not being silent is not an escape. It's like returning back home, a reconnection with the splendor of life the way it is. And once you experience that quiet, even if it's just for a brief while, you'll realize the power it possesses. The reason why silence is more than just a break from the cacophony will become clear to you. Specifically, it is the area in which the entirety of life is revealed. It's the place where you look back and find out who you really are. The weight of attempting to manage everything in your life is something you may have experienced at some point. As a means of preventing things from coming apart, you engage in activities such as planning, strategizing, and excessive thinking. Do you agree that it is exhausting? The persistent need to direct each and every detail in order to guarantee that everything happens according to plan? But the truth is that the majority of us do not want to acknowledge it. A false sense of control exists. By telling ourselves this reassuring tale, we are able to feel secure in a world that is full of unpredictability. In spite of this, the more we cling to this delusion, the more suffering we experience whenever we entertain thoughts about it. What is the percentage of times when life truly goes precisely as you wanted it to? The fact that you are unable to manage everything, regardless of how much you plan or worry about it, is brought home to you by the fact that you have missed a call, experienced an unexpected delay, or witnessed a rapid change in someone's conduct. And yet we continue to make an effort, don't we? We tighten our grip under the impression that if we just put in more effort or thought more quickly, we would be able to outwit the chaos. Nevertheless, this endeavor comes at a price. We give up freedom for tension, and we give up calm for irritation. I would like to ask you a question. How long has it been since you fully let go of something? In a manner that was not irresponsible or reckless, but rather in a manner that felt liberating, in which you stopped trying to force outcomes and simply allowed life to flow as it was meant to. The very thought of that is terrifying to a good number of us. It is a feeling similar to giving up or admitting defeat when one lets go. However, this is not the case. Losing control is not the same thing as letting go of something. When you come to terms with the fact that you were never truly in charge to begin with, surrendering to the natural flow of life, rather than persistently battling against it, is what it means to do this. Let me explain. The mind thrives on having control. All it wants to do is classify everything, make predictions about everything, and keep everything in its grasp. However, this is not how life works at all. The nature of life is fluid, unexpected, and full of unexpected surprises. Regardless of how hard you try to hold on to it, it will continue to slide through your fingers. It is comparable to attempting to cling to water. If you squeeze more tightly, you will have less on your hands. However, when you open your palm and let the water flow freely, you come to the realization that it is never truly gone. It's just moving in the way that it was intended to. This is the myth of control, which is the assumption that we can mold life to our liking if we cling to it strongly. However, power and control are not the same thing. True power is not achieved by coercing life into submission, but rather by allowing oneself to flow with it. Try to picture a river. One option is to battle the current, flailing and struggling against its natural direction. Another option is to surrender and allow the current to carry you to your destination. Regardless of the circumstances, the river will proceed to flow in the same direction. However, whether you choose to oppose or flow through the journey is what determines whether you perceive it as a feeling of sorrow or calm. And here's the secret: letting go does not imply doing nothing at all. However, this does not mean that you will no longer make decisions or take action. It means that you cease fighting against what is. What it means is that you give your complete attention to the here and now without making any demands for it to be different. It is about having faith in the process of life, even when it appears to be devoid of confidence. Because here's the irony: the more you let go of control, the more life aligns itself in ways that you couldn't have planned for it to. Possibilities present themselves, clarity manifests itself, and tranquility ends up becoming your default condition. How come this is such a challenge for us? The reason for this is that the mind associates surrender with being vulnerable. It perceives that if I do not maintain my grip, I will lose everything. Nevertheless, the contrary is true. Letting go creates space for clarity, space for serenity, and space for life to go through you, rather than being blocked by your resistance. When you let go, you create space. There is no such thing as losing when you let go. Rather, it is about earning release from the stress of trying to manage something that cannot be controlled. Please pause for a moment to think. Right now, what are you clinging on for dear life? In what ways are you attempting to coerce the effects of your actions? Which anxieties are the source of your desire to exert control? Now, for a few minutes, try to picture what it would be like to let go of that, to let go of the tight hold, to take a big breath and say, I trust the process of life. Try your one. What would be the difference in your weight? Would you feel a greater sense of vitality? A single act of letting go is not the same thing as a practice. You are constantly telling yourself that life was never intended to be controlled, and this is what it means to do so. Your ability to trust the flow, to have faith that the same force that keeps your heart beating and the stars shining will also lead your way, is what it means to allow yourself to trust the flow. And once you start to accept this, you will find that you have discovered something quite remarkable. Not because the world around you changes, but because you change, life becomes simpler. The transition from resistance to acceptance, as well as from struggle to tranquility, occurs. Take a moment to pause and inhale deeply before continuing. Experience the sensation of air entering your lungs and imbuing your body with vitality. As you exhale, let go of everything else that is going through your mind, including your concerns about the future, the echoes of the past, and even the thoughts that are currently going through your head. The only thing that exists in this one breath is the current moment. There is no history and no future. Life can be found right here and now. How frequently do we fail to see it, though? Give it some thought. There is a significant amount of time that we devote to either reliving the past or practicing for the future. Rehashing previous conversations, we find ourselves wishing that we had said something different. In our thoughts, we construct complicated scenarios in order to alleviate our anxiety about things that have not even occurred yet. However, the reality is that the past has passed away, the future has not yet arrived, and the only moment that actually exists is the present instant. The present moment is the most important thing in the world. Why is it so difficult to remain in this location? What causes the mind to drag us away from the present moment on a consistent basis? This is due to the fact that the mind thrives on time. It is a passion of its to analyze what has already taken place and speculate on what might occur in the future. Because it is afraid of being motionless, it clings to the idea that time is passing. When you are still, you are facing what is without being distracted. And for many of us, that is something that makes us feel uneasy. It has a vulnerable feeling. However, here is the secret. Silence is not devoid of meaning. Complete with life, complete with presence, and complete with clarity. Everything takes place in the here and now, the current moment. Consider the act of holding a snow globe. Whenever you shake it, the minuscule flakes whirl around in every direction, making it impossible to discern anything in particular. When you allow yourself to become preoccupied with ideas of the past and the future, this is what takes place in your mind. After you have placed the snow globe on the ground, the snowflakes will start to settle, the water will become clear, and all of a sudden, you will be able to see everything as it actually is. A clearer understanding of this is provided by the current moment. You will start to perceive life as it actually is, rather than as your mind imagines it to be, once you have allowed the mental chatter to quiet down. To add insult to injury, the present moment is not only the place where life takes place, it is also the place where tranquility resides. Just for a moment, think back to a period when you felt fully relaxed. Perhaps it was the experience of watching the waves crash onto the coast, sharing a laugh with a buddy, or simply taking a relaxed seat in the natural environment. What was it about those moments that made them so memorable? Not the circumstances themselves, but rather your presence was the cause of the problem. You were not deaf to the clamor that was going on in your head. You were present in every way and fully lived. Moreover, this is the power that the present moment possesses. It is a connection to the very core of what it means to be alive. But let's face it, remaining in the here and now isn't always the easiest thing to do. You are continuously drawn into the narratives that the mind tells you, because it is a skilled storyteller, reminding you of things you could have done differently or warning you about what could go wrong are both things that it will accomplish for you. There are also occasions when it is compelling. The fact of the matter is, however, that those tales are nothing more than tales. In contrast, the only reality that exists is the present moment. The more you give yourself the opportunity to return to this time, the more you will come to the realization that the stories lose their potency. They are similar to shadows in that they appear to be large and overwhelming. But when you shine the light of presence on them, they disappear. So let me ask you this. How does the feeling of being in the present moment seem to you? The question is not what you believe it ought to feel like, but rather what it actually feels like. Close your eyes for a little period of time and simply be. Feel the feelings in your body, such as the warmth, the weight, and the tingling, and pay attention to your breath as it circulates in and out of your body. Listen to the sounds that are occurring around you without attempting to categorize or analyze them. Just focus on hearing them. Now is the time that we are living in. It is not something that you need to look for. Rather, it is already present, and you are just waiting for you to recognize it. Moreover, the beauty of the present moment lies in the fact that it is sufficient. There is no requirement for you to be anywhere else, to engage in any other activity, or to be someone else. In the here and now, there is no obligation to do anything, and there is no requirement to adapt or alter anything. The space is one in which you can simply be, and it is in that being that you discover freedom. It turns out that the fears you have been holding on to so fiercely are not truly that important. You come to realize that the tranquility you have been looking for has been present from the beginning. The here and now is not a destination in and of itself. It is not something that you will arrive at after completing all of your tasks or before you have resolved all of your issues. It is present in this very moment, and the more you practice going back to it, the more you will become aware of the power it possesses. The way sunlight dances on a wall, the sound of laughing in the distance, and the rhythm of your own heartbeat are all examples of the subtle, beautiful nuances that you will develop an awareness of as you progress through life. Not only are all of these things happening right now, but they are also the things that make life rich and complete. Now is the time to swap gears. A number of topics have been discussed, including the significance of silence, the illusion of control, and the power of the present moment. But how exactly does one go about calming their mind? The world is continuously drawing your attention in 100 different directions. How can you achieve that inner silence when you are constantly being pulled in that direction? The reality is that establishing inner silence does not require you to completely exclude your ideas from your mind. Simply put, it means acquiring the ability to notice them without becoming engulfed by them. The key is to make room for yourself, a place that is serene and quiet, where you can just be. What's more, I'm going to walk you through 3 different strategies that you can use to accomplish exactly that. Today, initially, the method appears to be quite straightforward. Take note, rather than with the intention of analyzing or classifying, the purpose is just to hear the world in its natural state. You should begin by sitting in a position that is comfortable and in a location where you won't be disturbed. In order to enhance your hearing, you should close your eyes. Observe what you see here. One possible explanation is that it is the low hum of an appliance, the rustling of leaves, or the sound of traffic in the distance. Let's not pass judgment on whatever it is. Don't give it a name. All you need to do is allow it to flow over you like waves crashing on the shore. This is the most important part. Consider every sound to be a component of a symphony. It is always alive with its own song, and the world around you is always alive. There is a miraculous occurrence that takes place when you stop attempting to control what you hear and instead simply allow it to happen. You start to become aware of the fact that every sound, regardless of how inconsequential or unexpected it may be, is a component of the present moment. As soon as one comes to that knowledge, the mind begins to calm down. The experience is like tuning into a radio station where the static slowly disappears, leaving behind pure clarity. It is not necessary to force anything. If your mind begins to stray, and it will gently direct it back to the noises, because it will do so on its own. Perfection is not the goal. Rather, awareness is the goal. You are improving your capacity to be present to the moment with each repetition of listening to what is being spoken. This technique will eventually become second nature to you, providing you with a means of regaining your footing whenever life seems to be too much to handle. When it comes to discovering inner silence through the use of your breath, the second technique is among the most effective instruments available. It is always possible to use your breath as a center of attention, since it is always there, always with you, and always available. Your first step should be to find a comfortable position and focus your attention on your breathing. Don't make an effort to alter it, just take note of it. Experience the sensation of air passing through your nose, filling your lungs, and then leaving again. You should pay attention to the natural rhythm, the rise and fall of your chest, and the slight delay that occurs between each inhale and exhale. It is possible that your thoughts will stray while you continue to do this. Ideas, plans, concerns, and recollections will come to mind. This is a typical occurrence. You shouldn't resist them, and you shouldn't judge yourself for your own existence. In its place, bring your attention back to your breathing in a gentle manner. Imagine that your thoughts are clouds that are moving over the sky. It is not necessary for you to hunt them down or drive them away. Instead, you should just let them come and go while maintaining a regular and consistent breath. Move on to the next phase in the process. Become aware of the way in which your breath changes in response to your mental state. Whereas it is deep and stable, or is it shallow and quick? While you are not trying to force it, attempt to slow down your breathing. Take a deep breath in with your nose for the count of 4. Pause for a second and then slowly exhale through your mouth for the count of 6. Every time you exhale, you should feel your body relax. This straightforward technique not only helps to soothe your nervous system, but it also helps to ensure that you remain firmly rooted in the here and now, where silence will naturally emerge. The third method follows a somewhat different approach. Your goal should be to bring awareness to your thoughts without allowing yourself to be taken away by them. The process is known as thought labeling, and it operates very similarly to this. While you are sitting in silence, start to pay attention to your thoughts as they come to you. Rather than interacting with them, you should categorize them. Take, for instance, the situation in which you find yourself worrying about something. Simply tell yourself that you are worried, When you are playing back a memory, you should designate it as memory. The act of planning something should be referred to as planning. Putting a label on your ideas allows you to put some space between yourself and the concept that you are having. That you are not your ideas is something that you remind yourself of. When it comes to your ideas, you are the observer. A shift in viewpoint can be achieved through the simple act of labeling. It enables you to take a step back and observe the flow of your thoughts without allowing yourself to be carried away by them. As time passes, you will become aware that your thoughts are losing their hold on you. In this sense, they become like fleeting clouds that are always around but no longer have any influence over your internal climate. At this point, you might be asking how these methods can be incorporated into your everyday life. They are convenient in that they do not call for a significant amount of time and effort. For example, you may practice listening while sitting in a park, or even when you are driving to work in the morning. While you are waiting in line or going through a stressful situation at work, you can bring your attention to your breathing. Additionally, whenever you feel overwhelmed, you have the ability to label your ideas, which can transform chaos into clarity in a matter of moments. Consistency is the most important factor. Take baby steps. Consider devoting 5 minutes of your time each day to one of these activities. Listening one day, concentrating on your breath the next, and naming your thoughts the day after are all possible examples of this practice. After some time has passed, you will see that these methods will automatically become a part of your life. You will be able to rely on them no matter where you are or what you are going through because they become powerful instruments. Something more profound starts to take place as you continue to practice. Utilizing these tactics will not only help you calm your mind, but they will also alter your relationship with it. As time goes on, you begin to recognize your thoughts not as facts, but rather as fleeting events. You start to become aware of the silence that has always been present, waiting for you, that lies beneath the noise that is going on around you. This is the silence brought about by presence. The silence that comes from simply being, the act of clearing away clouds in order to reveal the blue sky that was always present, is an example of something that is not something that you create, but rather something that you discover. Silence within oneself is not about evading the outside world. It is about confronting it in its entirety with clarity and tranquility, observing your thoughts without passing judgment on them, listening to the subtle melodies of existence, and feeling the rhythm of your breath are all important aspects of this practice. The behaviors in question are not merely methods, rather they are gateways. These are the gateways to a more peaceful mind, a more fulfilled heart, and a life that is lived in tune with the here and now. First, let's take a step back and examine the situation from a more holistic perspective. We have arrived at a profound realization as a result of everything that we have discussed, including the present moment, the illusion of control, and the time of inner silence. How you perceive the environment is directly proportional to how you actually feel about it. Your viewpoint is not merely a lens, rather it is the substance upon which your world is built. And when you adjust your perspective, everything goes through a transformation. You start to see life for what it really is, which is a harmonic dance of being that unfolds moment by minute. The noise begins to diminish, the turmoil begins to calm, and you begin to experience life again. Take a time to reflect on the ocean below you. After crashing on the shore, the waves rise and fall, and then they retreat back into the depths of the ocean. It looks that each wave is distinct and individual. Still, is that the case? Alternatively, is it merely a component of the ocean that is undergoing a momentary transformation before reintegrating into the whole? In the same way, you are the same. You do not constitute a distinct wave. You are the ocean itself expressing yourself in a form that is singular and ephemeral. In addition, the illusion of separation is dispelled when you are able to observe and feel this sensation for yourself. You come to the realization that you are integral to everything. A shift in perspective is not merely a notion, rather it is an experience that one has really lived through. On top of that, it alters everything. All of a sudden, the challenges and conflicts that were once so deeply personal start to feel more like fleeting weather patterns. It is no longer necessary for you to resist or change the feelings of anger, fear, or frustration that you are experiencing. One could compare them to a storm that is moving through the sky. They are merely a part of the flow. And in the same way that the sky does not change, regardless of how intense the storm is, the more profound part of you does not alter despite the noise that is generated by the mind. However, let's make this more applicable. In what ways do you change your point of view? What is the process of transitioning from the perception of being a separate wave to the realization that you are the entire ocean? The first step is to become conscious. To get started, take note of the frequency with which you identify with your own ideas and feelings. For instance, you might remark, "I am angry," when you are experiencing feelings of rage. However, is that a fact? Is your fury rage? It's possible that you're just experiencing anger. There is a distinction that is not obvious but significant. You are able to create space for yourself when you come to the realization that your thoughts and feelings are not you, but rather something that occur within you. This is the place where you will discover freedom. Try something out. Shall we imagine that you are standing by a river for a brief minute as you close your eyes briefly? Keep your eyes on the water as it passes by you. On the other hand, there are sections of the river that are rushing and tumultuous, while others are quiet and clear. Imagine for a moment that your feelings and ideas are analogous to the water that flows through the river. Rather than leaping in and being carried away by the current, you are standing on the bank and watching everything pass by that way. You do not have to exert any control over the water. You don't have to bring it to a halt. All that is required of you is to recognize it for what it is, a continuous flow that does not define individuals. This is the power that comes from having a different perspective. In addition, here is something that is much more profound. When you stop identifying with the river of ideas and emotions, you start to view the greater environment. The trees, the mountains, and the sky, as well as all the beauty that has been there the whole time but has been concealed by your obsession on the water, are brought to your attention. To put it another way, this is what occurs when you change your viewpoint on life. When you stop being preoccupied with the particulars, you begin to perceive the bigger picture. You come to the realization that the challenges and victories, the happiness and the sadness, are all components of a more bigger harmony. Additionally, this new viewpoint alters the way in which you perceive yourself in connection to other people. You start to regard other people as reflections of yourself rather than perceiving them as distinct entities from you. Their happiness is your happiness. The challenges they face are also your challenges. As a result of this sense of connectedness, boundaries are broken down and compassion developed. It is difficult to experience feelings of loneliness or isolation once you have a genuine comprehension of the fact that we are all a part of the same ocean. You are aware that each and every wave, regardless of how big or small it may be, contributes to the overall lovely appearance of the whole. On the other hand, let's go even further. This change in viewpoint is not only about connecting with others, it is also about giving oneself freedom. You will no longer feel the need for your life to be a particular way once you realize that you are a component of a larger whole. You refrain from insisting that things go in accordance with your preferences or expectations. When you realize that the same force that moves the stars in the sky is also the force that moves you, you start to trust the flow. Because of this trust, there is a sense of tranquility that is unmatched. It is no longer necessary for you to fight against or exert control over life. To put it simply, you just let it develop. Through the course of this unfolding, you come to realize a reality that has been waiting for you the entire time. When it comes to life, there is no problem to solve or a struggle to win. Being able to witness this is a miracle. When viewed through this perspective, every moment, regardless of how mundane it may seem, is elevated to the level of spectacular. Something as seemingly insignificant as a breath, a smile, or the sound of rain might become revered. They bring to your attention the fact that the essence of life is not found in spectacular accomplishments or in plans for the future. It can be discovered in the stillness and presence of that which is being. I would want to extend an invitation to you to accompany me on this shift in perspective as we approach the conclusion of our adventure. Make it a part of how you perceive the world and how you perceive yourself. Please allow it to serve as a reminder that you are not distinct from life. You are life itself. There is a beauty and a harmony that has always been present, just waiting for you to realize it. This beauty and harmony may be found in every breath and every moment. No need to look for it, it is already there. You don't have to have a struggle to get it. Simply put, you have to look at it. simply because the tranquility, the connection, and the freedom that you have been searching for have been present from the beginning.